Statistics is the analysis of a collection of data. Here we have a table showing the number of goals scored by an under-15 soccer team in their last 20 games. We know that if we want to learn more about a scenario, for example, how this team is performing overall, we need to analyse the information that we have collected. So it's useful for us to know the middle or average number of goals scored, and this is known as the central score. And we usually find this by finding either the mean, the median, or the mode of the data. It's also useful for us to know the range of goals scored. Sometimes it's helpful too if we know if there are any games where the team performed really well or very poorly, and these are known as outliers. But in this particular example, you can see that the goals scored are all fairly clustered together, and so there would be no outlying scores. These three things are generally easy to find if the data is written out in ascending order. But what do we do if it's not? Here the information is in a frequency distribution table. Now, because there's only 20 scores, we could pretty easily write them out in ascending order. But imagine if they recorded the information for over 100 games, or maybe 500 games, and then entered it into this table. Writing that out in ascending order would be time-consuming, messy, and would make it increasingly likely that you would make a mistake in your calculations. So how do we find them without deconstructing the table? In the first part of this lesson, we will look at the two simplest calculations, the range and the mode. In parts 2 and 3, we'll investigate the more challenging calculations to find the mean and then the median scores. So let's start with the easiest one first. The range is the highest score minus the lowest score. Now these are pretty easy to see straight from our table. The different scores that we collected are listed here in this first column, as the information we were collecting were the number of goals that were scored in every soccer match. So we can pretty easily see that our highest score that we collected was 5, and our lowest score that we collected was 0. So taking the difference between these two, 5 minus 0, gives us a range of 5. The next easiest one to find is the mode, which we know is the score that occurs the most. And in this example, this means the most common number of goals scored by this team. Now in a frequency distribution table, as we mentioned before, the data that we are collecting is always written in this first column. So if they scored 0 goals in a game, if they scored only 1 goal in a game, 2 goals in a game, and so on. The number of times that this happened, or the frequency, is always written in this second column. So this team scored 0 goals in 2 of their matches. They scored 1 goal in 4 of their matches, 2 goals in another 4 of their matches, and so on. It's pretty easy to see then that the mode will be the score with the highest frequency. And so looking at this table, if we identify the highest frequency and match it back to its score, we'll identify the mode. So looking for the highest frequency, which is here at 5, and matching it back to its score, we can identify very clearly that the mode of this data set is 3.